In the woodworking world, oh, by the way, hi, Woodworking with Wes here. In the woodworking world, one of the things that we use a lot of is sheet goods. And I wanted to talk a little bit about sheet goods. One of the things that sheet goods have are edges. And we're going to talk about edge banding today. We have plywood and melamines that we use in all of our constructions, especially in our kitchen construction. All of our interiors are made out of melamine. A lot of our finished ends and furniture work is done with finished plywoods, veneer plywoods, but they all have a raw edge. And so we're going to talk about edge banding. That's how we take care of that raw edge. Let's look a little bit at our edge banding options. Edge banding comes in several different varieties. First off, this is a vinyl or a PVC edge banding. It's plastic. It is put on with an edge banding machine, and we're going to show you that in a minute. It comes in a variety of colors. I have just a few here. Wood grains, white, of course, we use a lot with our white melamine, regular colors. And this is a real thin material. It's called 1/2 mil thick, and it comes in several thicknesses up to 3 mil thick. Now you can see how stiff and hard that is, and for certain applications you want to have a very thick PVC. In fact, this is some 3 mil thick wood edge banding. So this is real wood edge banding that you can apply with a very thick veneer edge. This is also real wood here, and it is a 1/2 mil thick. And that way, the wood edge can be covered on your plywood. There are 2 or 3 different types of applications how you can apply this. Now we're going to apply these materials with an edge banding machine, and we're going to show you those in a minute. PVC cannot be ironed on. An iron-on edge is one of the very simplest ways to apply, and we're going to show you that in a minute also. But you can also buy your PVC or your vinyl edge banding with a peel and stick edge. You peel off the backside. It has a self-adhesive edge. In fact, let's go ahead and put a piece on. We have peeled off this peel and stick, and this is our self-adhesive edge. We put it on like this. Take our J roller and roll it down good and solid and tight. Always when you take your J roller, roll flat across, but also bend it a little bit on the corners and rub those corners down good so that you get a good adhesion all the way across the face of your edge. You trim this vinyl edge with a X-Acto knife. In just a minute ago when I showed you the PVC or the plastic edge banding, I told you that we would put it on with an edge banding machine. This is an edge bander. Now this is a large commercial edge bander for a production cabinet shop. I have access to this by the hour. And if you have a small shop and don't have the ability to own an edge bander, you can check around in your local area and see if there's a large commercial cabinet shop or woodworking shop that has an edge bander that would rent you time by the hour to have edge banding done. If you have a large project, a lot of work that needs to be done, and a lot of sheet goods that have to have the edge done on them, I've taken my work to a large production cabinet shop and have my edge banding done for me on a per hour basis. And it works out very well so that I don't have to spend the tens of thousands of dollars required to buy a huge production machine like this. They're very nice to have and they do an excellent job, but they are very expensive. Let's go ahead and put an edge band on our piece of white melamine here. We're going to put a white edge on it. So just watch as we go through, and I'll explain when we get done what this edge bender does. Large production edge banders like this, as your material goes through, it applies the banding, glues it on with heat activated glue, it trims both sides, cuts the ends, and buffs the edges so that it's all complete and done. And when you get all finished with a bander like this, your project or your product is ready to use for either assembly in cabinets or furniture or whatever you're doing. You can do this with a wood edge banding for wood on a plywood edge, or like I've done here, white melamine. This machine is able to be adjusted for the thicker wood grain or wood, solid wood edge banding, or the 3 mil plastic edge banding. That's one of the advantages of a big commercial machine, is you have all the options available to you. Let's go back over to the bench and use a piece of iron-on edge banding. We're getting ready to do some iron-on edge banding. Edge banding typically comes in a roll like this. This is alder wood edge banding, real wood. Has a heat-activated glue surface on the back side. And we're just going to show you how we put a piece of edge banding on. Now, typically what I do when I'm ironing on edge banding is I'll break me off a piece that's the size I want. Turn my work up. Just a standard iron, and I turn it up as high as it'll go so that I've got a lot of good heat. Start at one end. And what I do is I make sure I can feel that I have a little overhang on both sides of my plywood. Your edge banding is 7/8 of an inch thick. Your plywood is 3/4 of an inch thick. So you have a little bit on both sides to make sure that you've got good coverage on your raw wood edge. And I just start, make sure that I've got it ironed on good. Again, tip your iron, rubbing it on that edge, making sure that your heat activated glue is glued all the way out to the edges, and just work your way down the wood. And once you've got it all heated up and ironed on real good, be sure to come back with your roller and roll it down good and solid. Tip it on the edges again. Make sure you've got your edges glued all the way out to the edge of your material so that it's down good and solid. We've done a good job there. Now it has to cool, and then we can trim it up. Now I would do the same for this. If this is just a little short piece, but if I was doing a piece 6 feet long, I would do the exact same thing. I would start at one edge and I would just work my way down using my iron and my edge roller, my J roller, to make sure that my edge banding was down good and solid and stuck good. Now, you've got that little edge that we just talked about. There are several ways to trim that up, and they make trimmers that trim off the edges of your wood edge. I'll tell you what I do. I don't really care for the trimmers, because one of the things that they do is if they get caught up into the wood grain, and this is still wood, so it still splinters, I just take a file and I file off my edges flat, and then I just work my way down the face of my wood with my file and trim off my edge, just like that. Gives me a nice good edge there, and ready to sand. And you do want to sand when you get all done filing. I'll go through, I'll file both edges. And then as I sand and prepare my wood for finish, I'll sand both edges. I'll sand the face of my banding, and I'll just break the corners gently to round it over a little bit so that the whole thing is sanded, ready for finish or paint or whatever I'm doing. And you can see that it covers that edge. You no longer see the plywood edge, you see a real wood edge. It makes a nice finished edge for a piece of plywood. One other way that we can put an edge on, we'll set that off to the side, is a 1/4 inch edge that is nailed on. Now, this is a piece of edge banding that I made for a project that I was doing that had a specific color. We made this edge banding 1/4 inch thick, 3/4 of an inch wide, stained it and lacquered it, and we would just glue this on the edge of our board and use some 23 gauge headless pins and pin down here using some color putty to touch up our holes. And like I say, we've made this the exact size of the wood, and so that would make a nice edge banding there also. But so there's lots of different ways to cover the raw edges of your sheet good material to make your projects come out nice, hiding the raw edge of your material, but still being able to use the veneered and melamine surfaces that make projects easier to build and come out nice. It's always nice to know about the options that are available and the things that you can do to help you in your woodworking projects. That's what we're here for, to help you be a better woodworker, to make your projects come out nicer, and to be more skilled in the efforts that you do when you do your work. We'll see you next time on Woodworking with Wes.